Good morning. Good morning. This is me. And look here, we got the wife back.
Hi.
Missed you so much in podcasts. I only did 2 by myself. And it is weird
Right.
doing Led by the Word alone. Like it's very different. But something always comes out of everything, right?
Yes.
We did Baby's Here, Baby's Healthy, Baby's Great. They filled in for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Mitchell in here. He's recording now. And we had the young adult team come in and fill. And out of that birth, the Seekers. So, guys, go to the Seekers. I guess it's this coming week episode. There is a specific clip, and I promise you, when you see it, you're going to be like, okay, that's what Micah was talking about. Oh, it's wonderful. It's absolutely the best thing ever. I come downstairs yesterday, and someone said, go see the clip. Ask Mitchell to show you the clip. And it's that good. It's
Wow.
that good.
Okay.
Our editing is, we're really going. We're going upscale.
Good job, Mitchell. That's good.
Couple big things to talk about. Maybe next week, potentially Sunday. Pastor's going to have a big announcement. Also, another thing, Sister Melissa was typing up a newsletter, and she asked me. She said you wanted in the newsletter to just talk up like some of the stuff we're doing, and she's like, "Do we have enough?" So we started talking, and we filled up the page. She's like, "Okay, you're gonna have to hold up our cool stuff we're doing until the next newsletter." And I was like, "That is so amazing that there's that much growth
Mm-hmm.
and there's that much freshness." Next thing, Bible course, Led by the Word. Can't talk about Led by the Word without Bible course.
Right.
It's still exploding. It's growing extremely fast. So I encourage you, please, if you haven't done it, it's 100% free. We'll put a link on here. Go to our website, get the Bible course. By the time this is out, big announcement, digital Bible course.
Yeah.
We've only got the Gospels, but we're growing this very, very, very fast. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It is amazing. And, we sent out a survey, and Faith comes to me and says, Micah, we got the Gospels. The Gospels are done. And I was like, this is so weird you come to me. I just got a survey, and someone said, I love the Bible course. I enjoy it. I wish there was a digital version. And here we are. Now we're here 2023. We're stepping in. You can do this on your phone. You can do this on your tablet, do it on your laptop. And here's what I really like about it. My tablet's here and sadly died. If you're on your tablet, you're in John chapter 6, and you're like, okay, my tablet died. You can go on your phone, log in just like a college course, 100% free, and it takes you right where you were.
That's beautiful.
It doesn't like, okay, let me go back, let me scroll. It isn't like YouTube where you got to go find the right spot in the video where you were, where you left off.
Hate that.
It takes you right where you were. It is the coolest thing. Jesse, you're here. I'm letting you start this out. I'm so excited.
Well, we're starting in 2 Kings chapter 22. We're actually going to be finishing up 2 Kings. And I told Micah and Mitchell before we started, this chapter has a lot of meat in it. Like, a lot of things are happening. But I think one of the most notable, and something that if you grew up in Sunday school, you've definitely heard about this guy, King Josiah. A lot of people call him the boy king because verse 1 tells us he was 8 years old when he began to reign. And I remember being a kid and being like, wow, that's so cool. And now I think about the 8-year-olds I know, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what? But of course he had advisors and he had, people in place. But, he's super young king, and that's what's most notable probably. The second thing that is most notable is this whole deal, which I'm not going to go into great depth because I know Micah has some amazing notes on it, but where they read basically the book of law, and Josiah starts kind of freaking out because he said, oh my goodness, like, we're going to incur the wrath of God here. We've not been keeping his commandments. And he has this thing, I was reading actually the Bible on my phone, which is not my preference, but it was late last night, and I wanted to get my notes together, and our son was already kind of asleep on me, so I just needed to use my Bible app, and it broke it down a little differently than my commentary here, but it was saying Josiah's reform. And I love that, the reformation of Josiah, where he got in there and he took down all of their idols that were in the groves. And something that I didn't notice the last time I read through the Bible was he actually stomped them. It says stamped in the King James Version. Like, he stamped them in the ground, like, and made them into fine dust. And then he did different things with the dust. Like, he was very thorough with this, like, stamping the idols. I just am imagining this 18-year-old man, because when he was 18 is when they read the law of the book, or book of law, excuse me. And so I'm just imagining this young person just stamping these things to death in the ground, and it's like, yeah, get it. Like, it was beautiful. But something that stuck out to me is how it was found was he sent Shaphan, the scribe, to the high priest, whose name I believe is Hilkiah. And what he actually sent him to the house of the Lord was for payment, because he wanted to pay the workers, everyone that kept up the house of the Lord. That was their mission. He said, hey, go and distribute these funds. This is the right thing to do. So he gets there, and the high priest said, by the way, since you're here, I found the book of law. So he reads it to the scribe, and the scribe's like, oh my goodness, I got to bring this to the king. So he brings it to Josiah. And then Josiah goes through all these emotions of, oh my goodness, we haven't been keeping up the commandments. We got to get right. The Lord's going to be angry, all of this stuff. And then he reads it to the people. And so it reminds me of the saying, I went searching for copper and I found gold. So he was still doing the right thing. He, wanted to make sure these people were paid. But then it was like, by the way, here's the book of law, like something so altering for Josiah himself. I've been thinking about that basically all night, like how he went searching for one thing and then totally found another, and it changed the course of the nation for some time. Spoiler alert, sadly, the nation does kind of get back into the idol stuff and just disrespecting the Lord. But that's what stuck out to me, is that he was open to this. So when you're doing the work of the Lord, Mike and I were actually talking about this yesterday. And if you remember how when you're working on a part of you, the Lord's shown you that you need to work on to mold your character towards his, then something else randomly, you're like, oh, okay, well, I got that anger issue, but okay, now I just realized the Lord's revealed to me I'm struggling with pride. So I see that in this story, especially where Josiah's like, you know what, we got to pay these people. But then it's like, also, we've not been keeping any of the laws. And so it's like the Lord will show you and reveal things to you, unfortunately, that you need to work on. If you're open, you're soft. It said Josiah was humble. The Lord even said, because you are humble, he was going to be spared the wrath of God. Now, later on, the wrath did come. The Lord is a man of his word. He kept it, but he
Postponed it.
He did. He spared Josiah for that because he humbled himself. So if you walk like, Micah 6:8, walk humbly, justly. And if you do that, the Lord will reveal things that if you're obedient and soft and humble, that you can work your character towards his. And I see that in this story with Josiah.
All of my fixation on this, and we got 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah.
I'm really on 22. And where Jesse said, he stomps them. So he takes all these idols and he burns them. Mm-hmm. Then he stomps them and he gets them down to where it's just ashes. So then he takes these ashes, and this is what I was like, what is this guy doing? He spreads them on commoners' graves. Mm-hmm. So I said, now wait, why would he, disgrace graves in my mind?
Right.
And that's how I understood it. So I had to look it up. He wasn't disgracing graves at all. This stuff, when you do this as a Hebrew ceremony, this stuff is dead. Oh. Every one of those gods, he was letting his people know they are dead. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking of a ceremony in our lives. We get saved. We thank God for what he's done for us. But our old things pass away and we get baptized. All that old stuff is dead and washed away. And behold, all things are become new. And I was thinking how important it is, old things passing away. He come in, he could have just said, remove the idols. But he didn't. He could have just said, remove the idols and throw them away. Mm-hmm. But he didn't. He removed them. He burned them. He stomped them. Then he scattered them at graveyards. This guy, he wanted it to be known to the people. This just wasn't in himself. This guy, he humbled himself before God, and he saw a direct conflicting enemy of God. And he said, this stuff has got to, in their mind, be gone. Mm-hmm. This stuff in everyone's mind has got to be gone. When you go, I've just got to say, like in our lives, Jesse was talking about these things we struggle with, anger, pride, whatever it may be. Sometimes in your life, you got to have a personal ceremony and say, God, I've not only repented of this stuff is gone. Mm-hmm. And when that stuff, you don't just pray and that stuff go away. But when that stuff comes back, you say, no, this stuff's dead. Mm-hmm. This stuff is gone. This stuff has no power in me. What's the verse? In our weaknesses, he is made strong. So you're going to have these weaknesses, but you can say, God, I'm strong now because it's in these weaknesses. God, you show me I'm really dealing with pride. But guess what? I'm no longer prideful because in that weakness, I'm giving power to your strength. I'm giving submission to your Holy Spirit. I'm giving submission to the fact that I've been baptized and old things are passing away. So you show me in conviction this is an issue in my life, but I'm stomping this stuff to the ground. The Bible tells us that we can tread upon serpents. Josiah's here. He's treaded upon the direct attack of Satan, and he's just stomping away. He's treading on this stuff, and there ain't no attack on Josiah. There ain't no ill will towards Josiah. You know what's on Josiah when he does this? Blessings, protection, and postponement of past judgment. Because he's doing this stuff. I don't know, when I read this, when you were talking, I was like, oh, Jesse's going to say my whole thought, and I got nothing.
I'm so sorry.
No, you did amazing. And I'm so excited about this because we see what the enemy has planned for us. Kill, steal, and to destroy. But then we see where Josiah says, forget all that. God come that I might have life and have it more abundantly. And he's in the law time. I mean, he's reading the Torah. So he's just reading law. But he comes in, he sees in that law, this is the stuff that happens if we do bad. And we're going to have judgment. Like Jesse said, we're in trouble, guys. He was 18, right?
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you and I covered this in previous scripture when we were actually reading through the Mosaic laws together where there's natural consequence? You know, our daughter's 4 years old, so we've kind of come to that point where we're having to explain to her there are consequences to your actions. You know, even if it's an accidental mess up, there's still consequences. You know, if you spill water, there's water on the ground. You know, I mean, no harm, no foul, but there are consequences. And that's all the law is people can look at it and be like, wow, the Lord, he's kind of mean. He's not. He put these laws in place because he loves his children. He's trying to protect his children. He's saying, you know, you don't need to live an immoral life because there are physical and spiritual consequences. So we see that here with Josiah. Like you said, he was spared. And if I'm not sure how much time we have to go in, like the other chapters, but these other kings had it really rough because they didn't walk in the ways of the Lord. And it is clear, you know, that he walked in, you know, evil the days of his life. And he got that reward. It's rough.
You know, I literally feel like a broken record. And I was reading this again this morning, and the only way I can explain it is like a deja vu, however you say that word.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Isn't it deja vu?
Deja vu?
Yeah.
Is because I was like, okay, so Josiah did well. Okay, now we come into his son, and his son did horrible. And I was like, no, I've read this before. But it wasn't like I've read this before. This is just good king, bad, bad, bad king. Good king, bad, bad, bad king. And if you go through from Judges to 2 Kings, it's like it starts with leaders before kings. And then it's good, bad, 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 or good and bad. It's just a lot of back and forth, back and forth. And now soon as Josiah's like, we're rebuilding all the temples. We're destroying all the idols. We're casting away all the false priests. We're getting rid of this junk and we're going good. Next guy comes in, does all the bad, does what his forefathers done, and it goes back. It's pretty much you see the spirit of David or the spirit of Ahab. It kind of flips back and forth between the way these dudes lived. And it's like, and he was like Ahab.
Right.
And Ahab and Jezebel. And this dude comes in. And we're going to get into this a lot more detailed when we get into Chronicles.
Right.
I told Jesse, what I've really enjoyed about this is when you'll be reading and they're like, oh, and this is King James Version, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's like, if you want to know more about this, it's in the book of Chronicles. And I'm like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I know you don't much care for the phone. I love on my phone that there's these little buttons you can click, and it'll just take you back and forth from Chronicles to this. It's like a cheat sheet.
I mean, it is faster than being like, okay, let me just flip. You know, I understand the merit of the phone app. I do.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, here we are here. But we're going to deep dive this more. But if you want to read chapter 23, 24, and 25, Israel's crumbled. The temple's stolen again. He's thrown in prison. Nebuchadnezzar comes in, takes this dude, changes his name to God's chosen one in prison. I forgot. It starts with a J.
It's so insulting, though. It's like, yeah, you're God's chosen, but you in chains. It's like, ouch. Why? Why are we doing this?
And every bad thing that happens in 23, 24, well, no, it's 24 and 25, is completely preventable.
Right.
Is 100% didn't have to happen. The punishment towards the people, and I know God had a preordained punishment, but we saw with Josiah could be postponed.
Oh, absolutely. And it was awful. I mean, the nation literally crumbled, like you said. I mean, between Nebuchadnezzar, I butchered that, and the Chaldeans, I mean, it was rough. God's protection had totally left. It was just really sad reading that last night. I was like, oof, this is rough. No,
Yeah, honestly, some of the building of Babylon is on the gold of the Hebrews.
Well, I mean, and the labor, because they took all the strong guys out. They were like,
It's a really sad thing. So we look in history, Babylon was a massive, big empire. And it was, God allowed that to happen because it was the punishment of God's own people. I hate to say that. I mean, we had such a hype moment, and then we
Sorry.
get to such a more of a downer moment. But take a moment, read those chapters, study through them. Also, take a moment to like this and share this. And you got to watch The Seekers. Seekers is amazing. I love our new podcast and group doing this. Can't wait to show Jesse the clip afterwards. You'll get to see it soon. And be tuning in. An announcement is coming. Like I said, Pastor may announce Sunday on live stream, maybe a week. I don't know, out of my hands, above my knowledge there. Thank you. Jesse, thank you for being here.
I'm excited to be here. It's nice to sit here and no one's crying at me. So that's nice. He's crying at Mom right now. So.
A little insight into our life. Baby's 6 weeks and change, growing great, healthy. Last week I was about to record podcast. We canceled. Jesse lost her grandfather. So still be in prayer for her family.
Thank you.
Be in prayer for her mom and her grandmother and everyone there. But yeah, baby's healthy. Baby's wild.
He's perfect. I love him. I want to bring him here, but he's very loud. Sorry.
Yeah, he wouldn't make it for
No, 2
40
seconds.
One thing I got to send. Mitchell, if you're comfortable with it, you want to post the picture of you holding Clark? Okay, we'll put that on
That
the
would be
screen.
great.
There was happy Clark and Mitchell, and then there was less happy Clark and Mitchell. That's my favorite. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you.
God bless you.